Welcome to Rev Up Your Business with Hilda Gan. We are now in season 5, and we've changed the name and the focus of the podcast. Rev Up Your Business is the podcast for small to medium-sized business owners, entrepreneurs, and HR professionals. Each week, we share tips, strategies, and trends on how you can build success in your business. I share my expertise as a people-centric leader in work culture and human resources. My guests share their expertise in human resources, marketing, sales, finance, IT, leadership, and the multiple facets that you need to take care of your business. If you love to learn and want to find out how you can rev up your business, join us. Welcome to Rev Up Your Business. We are doing our 7-part series, and today our focus is on what is an HRIS and why is it critical that you have one. Joining me again today is Neil Cosby and Dianne Clark. So again, our focus today is what is an HRIS and why is it critical that you need one? Welcome, Dianne and Neil. I'm delighted that we're going to get to talk about HRIS today.
Thank you. Me too. This is a really important, I think this actually is the underpinning for me in most of my work. HRIS stands for Human Resource Information System. I work with several large organizations right now in various stages of implementing an HRIS. And what's really important for your listeners and business owners to know these days is that to become a people-centered or a people-centric organization is really the epitome or the most important thing you can do right now to bring your organization forward in today's economy. And what that requires is a partnership or a collaboration with finance departments. Often finance has been the decision maker and the driver for organizations, but people-centered processes are actually becoming more important to deliver results and profits for organizations. So I welcome and I'm excited about this conversation because it's so important to partner with your finance side, but also to consider that people-centered processes are really the best tool that you have to bring your organization forward.
And to dovetail on Diane's fine articulation of how imperative an HRIS is, I mean, I don't have the technological expertise that Diane has, but I mean, in my work with clients and, past employers, the efficiency of an organization is very much measured by how invested they are in technology. And I find that, organizations are interested in enterprise resource, but HRIS, that's not so much of a priority. So I think it's imperative that if you have an HR department, or if I am speaking with a client that I'm the HR person, it's really pressing that this can save a lot of time. This can move a lot of things around. I think sometimes also HRISs are just seen as, oh, that's where we store all the employee information. Yeah, that's a big part of it, but you can do so much more with it. And I'm sure Dianne can speak more to that, but I mean, you can use it to get your forms, use it, things can be done electronically and so much faster. It's an investment, but the return on investment can be huge.
So, let me just pick up on a couple of things both of you said. Dianne said, in this people-driven economy now, you need an HRIS system, hence why we say it's critical. And I want to make 2 points on that, is that McLean does a survey every year, and pre-COVID, the numbers were different. And the idea of creating a people-centric experience, like, really? We're gonna make you feel good as an employee? That was like number 7. And it stayed there for the first 2 years of COVID. But in 1921, it shifted up to being number 3 It jumped from 7 to 3 and it stayed there. Recruitment's number one. It's always been number one. It's the most time consuming, and hence the HRIS system will be helpful. So you really do need it. And the other thing I wanted to point out is that people always think, oh, HRIS system, corporations, it's not for me. We only have 20 employees. Why do we need one? And I remember going to an HR IT conference back like 7 years ago, And I'm thinking, okay, I'm a consultant for small businesses. Maybe we don't, we can manage on a makeshift product internally. And when I went there, my eyes opened up and I said, we need to get comfortable. HR professionals need to get comfortable with technology because this is where it's at. And at that time, 7 years ago, software was shifting to provide for the small businesses. So it wasn't you had to buy the big HRIS system that a big company did. You could do it just for smaller ones. And that's 7 years ago, so you can imagine the technology. So Diane's our tech guru on everything, whether it's HRIS or mobilization of phones and using them in the workplace. Diane, I want you to share why people need an HRIS system.
Definitely. First, I'll go back to what you're alluding to, and I think which a lot of business owners, an ERP system, as you spoke, an enterprise resource planning, very financial driven. I would say, runs an entire organization. That was what all companies aspired to be at the point to use because it was going to catapult them into success and higher profits. These days, just to build on that, the HRIS system has become more sophisticated, and you can actually start with an HRIS system and build on that and include financial processes as well. So the people part, that's why this is so important to know. The people drive a business, people run a business. So those processes, when put high priority to become people-centric, and I'll explain a couple of the pillars of that, then finance is the underpinning of it. It's the foundation of it, and that's where it should be. It should be that, finance can drive the foundational pieces, but the people processes have to be there in order to pillars are build relationships. Make sure that your relationships are good with your employees, your clients, your customers, your vendors. Everyone can be dealt with, your contractors, everyone can be dealt with in a people management. It's about having the time to not worry about manual processes of entering things in spreadsheets, but more to work on face-to-face, time for conversations and dialogue. So it takes the onus off the processes of form completion and those kinds of things. So that's the one pillar, and it builds relationships face-to-face, even though it's all about digital processes, because it's automating systems that you would normally have your head down, on a desk. So it does relieve the pressure on that. It does look after payroll and things that reach employees, that reach the experience that employees have day to day, logging in, clocking in, recording their expenses, making sure that they have a time in lieu bank, and they know how many hours they have to spend, and empowering them to look after their own experience in an
I like that key word, empowering them. Like, it is that user experience, and it minimizes the amount of trying to remind people to do this or do that. I got it. I can do it myself. Sorry to thought I'd add that.
It's a portal that allows them to look after their own experience in ways. And the last thing is, in in being able to run reports, not just on how your business is performing, but how employees are performing and how they're helping the business. So you are able to surface data on your champions, and reward the champions that you can see are bringing your business forward. And if you have more than 20 employees, it's hard to know who is kind of doing what. Not that your report has to highlight the people, but your reports and your analytics in the system of human resource management, it can tell you how well you're doing at recruiting. It can tell you how well you're getting into different markets because you are drawing from different markets or exciting different markets, and you can actually have primary and secondary analytics, which primary would be the source of your what your employees think and what they know, and then secondarily would be to reach out and for them to reach out to clients as well. So you can include clients and customers in your HRIS system, either as contractors or in other ways that interact with your organization. So it does have a core and an extended component to it.
Yeah, and it's interesting that 20 odd years ago when I first transitioned to HR, we were, I'll use the word, arguing for this on the HR side, and 20 years later, we're still putting up the fight for it, so to speak. I'm not sure why there is such a barrier, but I mean, when I see people keeping information stored, which is another key piece to this, on 30 different spreadsheets, or they're using 5 different software systems, like that's not efficient, that's not productive. And when you can use an all-in-one system that an HRIS system is, you will find the time, the productivity, it goes up incredibly.
I find when you have makeshift systems or systems that are disparate, like you've got one system for tracking payroll, one system for tracking your applicant pool, one system for your performance evaluations, this lack of integration, things fall through the cracks. So when you have an integrated system, it improves communication, it improves reliability, quality, and the data's all there. So it's so imperative. And I was going to kind of make sure we talked about this later, but you jumped on it. 20 years later, we are still fighting for an HRIS system. And I think what I'd like to talk about then is, why is that? But more importantly, what can we do to recommend to business owners who are trying to make that decision, or human resources who are trying to convince the organization that they need to do this? I think too often I see my HR professionals feel like they don't have a seat at the table, feel that their voice is not heard. So what message can we send to business owners who are deciding whether to go, not go, and to our HR professionals? How do you make sure people understand the value of bringing this on?
We've had, and just to jump on your 10 years of doing that, the key, I think, is marketing was the be all and end all, and getting to know your customers and having a screen open that had all the information about your customers in front of you was happening for the past 10 years. And that was all happening where, we knew more about our customers than our employees. And really, how can you run any company without people? You really need to support the best companies, support their people from the inside out. And I think, they will be the ones who work with your customers and get to know the customers. So the core piece is really getting to know your employees first, and most importantly, in order to do the secondary thing, which is support your clients and customers, especially in today's economy. And I think that's the change for me. That's the shift, is that it has gone from getting to know your customer. And how can you get to know your customer if you don't have employees, or you don't know your employees? You have to really make an example of how well you know and enjoy and support your employees, so that you can make that known and transferred down to your customers and clients.
And I think as the demographics of the job labor force shift, I mean, everybody coming in now that is young and entry level has grown up in the electronic age. This is what they're used to. So if they come into a situation where technologically they're in, I'm sorry, in the dark ages, that's not a good attraction tool. It's not a good retention tool. People are going to get frustrated when it's not efficient and leave. And I do believe, and I do a lot of work with new people coming into the workforce. And one of the questions I've added is ask about their technology. You want to make sure that you're going to be able, they're providing you the resources and the tools to be productive and efficient in your role. And what a wonderful way to say we have the latest and the greatest, and it's you can focus on more than just administrative work in this job. So
I find it's got my brain thinking, and you're right. Like the younger generation, the current generation entering the workforce or fairly new to the workforce, really need technology, and they embrace technology. My son was helping me gather data for taxes, and it's last minute, he's scrambling things, and he was annoyed that he could not get the information on the weekend online, and thinking, you expect, they're closed, and I tried the phone and they're closed. And so our younger generation is used to having everything they need at their fingertips in some fashion. And I thought, yes, that's true. He's not a newbie, but he's still part of that younger generation. And the people that are making the decisions are often an older generation, not comfortable with computers. Remember, I said 7 years ago, I went to an HRIT conference and realized then that we need to embrace HR needs to embrace technology. So if you are in a leadership role, make sure you start to educate yourself with technological sessions that help you get comfortable and help you move the bar. And I want to comment on that seat at the table. You earn that seat at the table by showing your confidence and your capability, not by wishing and pushing upwards. Be there and claim your seat at the table, and use data, because that's what business people do. They use data to show a return on investment. If you look at just the recruitment side of an HRIS system, if you manage the process well, people will see a great company and want to join. If you let it fall through the cracks and you don't respond to people and they see it's like cumbersome to get in, they're not going to want to join. And then using your data. I used to use a slide with Equifax 2015 study, a little outdated now. And it basically said is when somebody terminates and you need to replace them, or resigns. When somebody resigns and you need to replace them, what is the cost of that? Oh, well, they're making $50,000. It's $50,000. No, it's 130 to 150 times that salary, because you've got to look at the productivity of the person that finally comes 6 weeks later. What are people doing to catch up? Advertising, people generating hours to interview, and that whole recruitment process. So that $50,000 is $75,000. And $25,000 every time you replace a general staff person. What does that add up to? Is it worth it to invest in a system that will help you hire the right people? The second thing is that if it's a middle person, it's even more than that. It can be 2 times salary. And the senior level people and those specialists, like your top salespeople, can be 350. And now with a new study that I found just yesterday to update my data to be more recent, 400 times that salary. So now you're looking at maybe a person who's making $200,000. That's $800,000 using the 4 times salary. So use that data, use that knowledge to help understand why it's critical, and that return on investment actually will make a difference and attract more people. That's my little soapbox.
I think you hit on a great thing to dovetail on what you're saying, Hilda. There's the return on investment, the cost, the bottom line dollars, which, you know, the people that HR have to convince that this is, you know, definitely something that's going to save money. And also, you know, there's other metrics that you can draw, and HR has been rightfully accused of not providing appropriate metrics. We're getting better at it. Don't get me wrong, but there's still more work to do, and the adoption of an HRIS system can provide those metrics and translate them into dollars. You have to remember, HR is largely not a cash generating portfolio.
No.
So we have to show our value elsewhere in terms of, you know, in a unionized environment, we had this many grievances. When we provided better training on the collective agreement, they were reduced by this amount, and this is how much, in terms of the time, this is how much money we saved. We really have to get down to that bit of, some people may say it's minutia. It's not minutia. It's when you start talking the cost to replace a person, to dovetail on your recruitment example, Hilda, that's when people start taking notice. Some people aren't concerned with turnover rates or anything like that, but when you add up the costs, they become concerned. So this could be a system that really drives those metrics, and data analysis in HR is a very big thing right now, as we all know.
Yeah.
That's my soapbox.
What's your soapbox, Diane?
My turn, yeah. Great point, Neil, because I will dovetail on what you just said. that metrics, definitely the KPIs of an organization really depend on a lot of performance, really how your organization is performing. And a myth about an HR department, an HRIS system now, is that it's only about hiring and a database. I think those two things, it became, but there's so many components to an HRIS system. I mean, I've just to reiterate the misunderstanding about what an HRIS system components are. I think a lot of people think it's very simple, and it is simple, but it's made performance simple. How to measure it, but also, the database of employees and the employee management of them, which includes their time and attendance, now being able to clock in and clock out, manage breaks that are unpaid, any times that there's extra hours worked, it'll be able to log that in your HRIS system. Your time off, being able to manage vacations and sick time, and knowing the balances and how much you have left, and having that tracked and logged. The recruiting piece, which is integrated with calendars, so people know when appointments are for interviews, and being able to collaborate and provide feedback on all those interviews effectively, being able to tag employees that come in and are interviewed, and you think, no, not now, but maybe in 6 months, you can actually pull them forward in 6 months, and not that they're buried and you don't know who they were. You now have the opportunity to bring those excellent and starred candidates forward. You can also tag them do not hire, so that you don't look at them again and don't waste time. So tagging and that recruiting process is not just, you want to be able to promote to the biggest markets and really bring people through a good experience, but also effectively hire the best candidate. Then the measurements of performance, which is providing good performance reviews, 360 degrees, being able to get it from a manager, from their direct reports, from their colleagues, as well as themselves, a full rounded feedback, providing feedback so that the improvements can happen, and you can drive their performance by compensation or by other means, and you'll be able to tell that. And lastly is the learning management. You want to be able to provide them with the courses that are have to have and nice to have, and you'll be able to they'll be able to look at the courses, take those courses either on their own, or you'll be able to monitor their performance. They'll get reminders about that. And then there's the nice to have if you want to upgrade them and provide additional interesting courses that will improve the performance of the organization, add them to your learning management system, which is all part of an HRIS. So HRIS systems are much more sophisticated than they used to be. And I'm not even talking about the financial payroll and pieces that are expenses. If employees make expenses, have assets you want to manage and track. I mean, all of that can be inside of an HRIS these days, and you can tell many of those things, and all of those things are so important for an organization and can help you measure your KPIs.
And I think back to the 4 pillars that I used to impart when I did a lot more recruitment was the right people in the right place at the right time. And the 4th one was with the right resources. And that is the basis of a talent management, attraction, and retention plan.
I'm doing a session later today, and part of it is focusing on how do you attract the right talent, how do you keep the right talent, and how do you develop the right talent. And one of the things that my collaborator is talking about, he said he's got a picture of somebody being interviewed, and the question is, do you provide training, or what kind of opportunities for growth are there? We do no training here. What are you going to do? Would you go to work on a place where they say, we don't develop you because we figured you're only going to be here for 2 years and then go, right? Thank you. I'm gone before I even get there, kind of thing. So we've got people excited now, and they say, okay, yeah, maybe that makes sense. Maybe I need to convince myself or convince my organization that we need an HRIS system. Let's talk about implementation and selection. Too many people that I come in and they start asking me to help them with either training or with their HR strategies. They've purchased something. Something that somebody kind of did a quick demo, 30 minutes later, they bought it, they bring it on. You're going, really? And then that person who's implementing it has no idea how to implement in a way that's got a strong foundation. So, Dianne, do you want to share some of those obstacles and challenges and strategic thinking when you're selecting and implementing?
Certainly. That's a great start. Thank you. As you say, a lot of organizations starting small, I would say between 10 and 25 employees, as an example, their employees are bringing to I'll say finance, but that's leadership. And it's always been traditionally finance and leadership are very strongly. But what you have is employees are bringing, hey, I have this project management system, I have this, I have that, and you end up with disparity in all these different plates you're spinning now with trying to provide a digital support for the organization, and you have a bigger problem, which is trying to get switching between them all, and you're losing productivity because of it, where digital is supposed to provide you with productivity. So the entry level HRIS, very affordable. At anywhere under 100 employees, it's actually really more affordable than people think. You can probably obtain a people management system with all of the components I just described for less than $1,000 a year for the entire system. And it will bring in a lot of the extra plates that you're spinning. It'll include that in there. As long as you're looking at an HRIS system, you're going to be able to plug in recruiting and performance and all of the other things. The next step is for larger organizations who are looking more at a strong, ironclad, which used to be an ERP system, but now they exist in the marketplace where they have very strong HRIS systems. And again, this tool has so much more return on investment. I would say there's a 300% return on investment by investing in an HRIS system, and that's not even counting the productivity that you're going to get from your employees after it's instituted. That's going to be processed. 300% on that. Processes are now not going to be done manually. They're going to be done within a digital system, providing the productivity time and place for your employees to now have that additional bandwidth to perform better and to have more time to support customers and clients. So 300% minimum, which is 3 times your investment in time and money into an HRIS system. So that's the way I would.
I want you to share the data that you said, and then if people are moving from one software system to another, it affects productivity. You've got a great piece of data, I think, that's eye-opening. So share that with us now.
Yeah, certainly. Thank you. It is, studies have now been done on the disparity of different digital products and switching between them. And it costs about 9 minutes for an employee to exit out of one digital tool and mentally prepare and get going in a second tool. So it works out to about 7% of a salary for each of when you have 2 different tools, you're losing 7% for each person's salary, where if they were integrated, that 7% wouldn't be as it wouldn't be remarkable. But I would say the thing too is that the amount of money spent on digital tools, it's been let's see how cheap or reasonable we can get this digital tool. How can we get a free version of it? That is really a block as well as to productivity. In that if you're providing a tool to do the job and it's not the right tool, I mean, if you have a wrench instead of a hammer, then you're not going to get the job done to get a nail put in. It's the same thing with technology. If you don't invest enough in your tools and in your digital products and services for your organization, you're really putting barriers up for your employees. You need to spend about 5% of your annual revenue to make sure that you're supplying your employees with enough resources to pay, manage, and monitor their work.
Yeah, I mean, these things are just critical, and it will make your life easier, more accurate, cut down on mistakes. That's something we haven't talked about. Is if you're still in the manual age or using Excel spreadsheets, and don't get me wrong, Excel spreadsheets can be helpful, but having 30 of them is not helpful. So, and again, it's the human error. And I mean, you provide the great training, you're going to have great results. Yeah, it's a pilot, and there will be bumps in the road. There will be people saying this is not what we need. But if you do your due diligence, and you will have great results with this.
And if I can put some more numbers to this, when my husband and I had our engineering company, iTrans, we would have staff meetings, town hall meetings, and we would share about different aspects. And one time we shared with staff that productivity obviously helps drive the success of our business. And we said that if you looked to improve your productivity by 15 minutes a day, just 15 minutes, everyone, I think, can find 15 minutes in the day. And when we talk about your example of switching from one software to another, you're losing 7 minutes. So 15 minutes a day. And you know what my husband said? He said, if everybody was more productive 15 minutes a day, that would increase our profit by 1%. So again, another return on investment. When you invest in processes that streamline, that optimize, that don't let things fall through the cracks, you will see that return on investment. So we've talked about various things. We've talked about what is an HRIS system, what are some of the benefits and some of the challenges, benefits to having and challenges to not having. We talked about the return on investment, the way you sell the idea of bringing this on and the return on investment. And we also talked about when you select something, select wisely and integrate. We didn't talk so much about integrating, but have people who understand a systems approach to implementing. Garbage in, garbage out. I spent 4 years of my career in IT, and that rings true. If you just take what you have and it's garbage and you put it in the system, it's going to give you greater headaches. So really implement strategically and with care. Are there any final thoughts that you have before we thank people for joining us?
I think if the message we could give today is do your exploratory work. I mean, we are talking about our opinions, but our opinions come from experience.
Yeah.
And while you may be listening to this half convinced, sort of convinced, do the exploratory work. And you will find that there's a system out there for everybody, just like there's a house out there for everybody. And, it may be an investment of cash, but you will get your return on that and have a more productive and efficient workplace. That is the bottom line. So just on those reasons alone, take a look.
To build on that excellent remark too, is to make sure, I think, once you've decided you want to explore and you think HRIS is going to do your organization well, approach your finance department. Go to the finance person, if you can, the head of finance, to explain the benefits of it and partner with them, collaborate with them, bring them in to the decision. Because it may not be that you get a decision right away, but in the long run, that partnership and that relationship, as most HR managers already have that, but that nurturing for that, because there's so many benefits for finance as well, that I think that's what's hindering moving an HRIS system forward often, is because finance isn't aware of the benefits or how they are involved in an HRIS. And as HRISs get more sophisticated, they are going to include more financial integration, and they do already talk language of QuickBooks and other financial tools. They integrate well with ERP systems. So I think once finance understands that there is benefits for finance as well to see better performance, because they're all about performance, I think that that is the way to move an HRIS and become a people-centered and centric organization. Yeah.
I like the robustness of our discussion. I hope people found it really beneficial. And I'll go back to what Neil said, is that when you decide to purchase an HRIS system, really get acquainted with what it is, how to do it. And I'm speaking on behalf of the three of us because we are part of Trendspire. Have a conversation with us. You can hear the wealth of knowledge that each one of us brings and helping you to purchase the right system. Diane's this wealth of knowledge. She knows so many different systems. And as Neil said, it's about the right choice for your organization. But not your organization for today. It's for your organization today, tomorrow, and in the future. So you're purchasing something that's going to take you as you continue to grow. And not just purchasing it, but implementing it. Because the novice is not the best person to implement an HRIS system. You need some guidance or some expertise in understanding strategically how you implement. Diane, share how people can get a hold of us if they would love to have a free consultation, because we'd love to share with you, because we want you to help make the right choice.
To get a hold of us, feel free to go to our website, which is trendspire.com. TRENDSPIRE.com. Our email is transformation@trendspire.com. And feel free to contact us there, and we would be happy to have a meeting with you to discuss an HRIS system or any other digital tools or products.
I think it's been an excellent session helping people see the various aspects of an HRIS system. And I hope I've got you either excited or nervous, or I hope we have got you excited or nervous about it, and that you want to call us to help you get an understanding of what that means for you and your company, and helping you move forward with a big decision that's going to have a big ROI. Thank you, Neil. Thank you, Dianne, for joining me today and helping others understand what they need to do in this critical idea of getting an HRIS.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you, Hilda.
Thank you, Hilda.
You're welcome. And thank you to my listeners and viewers. If you love this session, give it a big thumbs up. Give it 2 thumbs up. And if you're interested in more, particularly this series of 7, which talks about recruitment, engagement, transformation, AI, today's session, and how to maximize your productivity, continue to join us and subscribe. Thanks a lot, everybody, and have a great day. Rev up your business. Thank you for tuning in to Rev Up Your Business with Hilda Gan. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to our podcast on YouTube and Spotify to stay up to date with all of our latest episodes. For more HR tips, strategies, and to learn how you can create a people-centric workplace, visit our website at peoplebrightconsulting.com.